planet Valera Prime loomed like a jewel in the darkness of space, its jagged cliffs cutting through the perpetual twilight. Glowing rivers of molten energy snaked across the land, casting eerie reflections on the rock faces. It was a world of extremes, where beauty and danger were inseparable. Few outsiders had ever set foot on it, and fewer still had returned. Captain Aaron Hayes had not come here by choice. One moment he was flying a reconnaissance mission above a neutral zone, scanning for anomalies in the sector. The next, his ship was pulled down by a magnetic field that shredded its navigation systems. Alarm sirens blared, and a violent descent hurled him across the cabin until he crashed on the surface. He awoke not in a medical bay or prison cell, but on a platform high above the ground. Surrounded by beings whose very presence seemed designed to intimidate, they were Ziller, a warrior race built for strength and speed, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glimmered like molten gold. Their reputation preceded them: elite fighters, cunning strategists, and cruel judges of outsiders. No human had survived their trial night, a challenge meant to test courage, intelligence, and willpower under conditions designed to break the mind. Aaron tried to rise, wincing as he pulled himself to his feet. He kept his hands raised, showing he carried no weapon, though his mind raced with questions. The Ziller commander, a tall woman with a presence that made the air itself seem heavier, stepped forward. Her name was Kyra, High Warden of the Trials. Her armor was black with silver filigree, and her gaze felt like it could pierce through his very thoughts. "You are human," she said, her voice calm but carrying authority. "You will face the trial night. All others have failed. Do you accept?" Aaron's instinct told him to resist, to fight, to find a way to escape. But he also knew he was surrounded. Any sudden move could be fatal. He swallowed and nodded. "I accept." Kyra's expression did not change, but a hint of curiosity appeared in her eyes. "Good. Many have spoken those words. None have survived. Prepare yourself." He was led to the arena, a massive chamber carved into the cliffside. The walls seemed alive, shifting with shadows and patterns that made it hard to focus. The floor was not solid stone, but a glowing surface that reacted to movement. Every step he took caused ripples of light to dance around him. From the edges of the chamber, creatures slithered and prowled. They were grotesque, their forms half feline, half reptile. With eyes that glowed red in the darkness, Aaron took a deep breath. He had trained for situations like this, though never in an alien arena designed to kill. He reminded himself, panic was the enemy. Observation, patience, and calm were his weapons. He moved slowly, his eyes scanning every detail. The creatures tested him, lunging, but he dodged or sidestepped with precise timing. They were fast, stronger than any predator on Earth. But predictable in their patterns once studied, hours seemed to pass in minutes as illusions and traps escalated. Fire erupted from the floor, molten rocks rained from the ceiling, and walls closed in, threatening to crush him. In another chamber, mirrors reflected versions of himself screaming in terror. He could hear whispers, voices mocking his courage and mocking his species. Many humans might have crumbled under the assault of fear and hallucination, but Aaron found a strange sort of amusement. "Really?" he muttered quietly to himself. "This is all you've got?" He noticed that the traps and creatures reacted to emotional responses. Fear made the fires burn hotter, the creatures faster, the shadows darker. By keeping his mind steady, he kept control of the environment around him. Each obstacle became a puzzle, each creature a test to observe and outsmart rather than overpower. Time was meaningless here. He moved from chamber to chamber, each more complex than the last. One room appeared infinite, filled with shifting platforms over a void that seemed bottomless. Another showed a corridor of flames where the walls were alive, reaching out to crush anyone who dared pass. Yet Aaron treated them as patterns to analyze. He jumped, rolled, and timed his movements precisely. Avoiding injury while staying calm under pressure, the Ziller spectators above watched in disbelief. None had expected a human to make it this far. High Warden Kyra studied him carefully, noting how he did not react with panic aggression, or arrogance. He was something different, something unpredictable. While Zillar warriors relied on strength, speed, and aggression, this human relied on his mind, patience, and resilience. It was a form of courage they did not fully understand. By the middle of the night, Aaron faced the more personal trials. The arena shifted to show his deepest fears, his failures, the people he could not save, and moments when he had felt powerless. He saw shadows of his friends and comrades, their faces twisted in anguish. He could feel the emotions radiating from the illusions pressing on him. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He reminded himself, these were not real. He was alive here and now. His mind was his own. The shadows could not touch him unless he let them. With that focus, he walked through the illusions, acknowledging them without fear. Each step forward diminished their power. Hours passed, though it was impossible to tell. Hunger and fatigue clawed at him, but his determination did not waver. In one chamber, a floor of black glass reflected every failure he had ever had. It was designed to break even the strongest minds. But Aaron crouched, studied the reflections, carefully placed his feet on the cracks, moving like a dancer across a stage. Every step was deliberate, every motion calculated. The floor held no power over him. The night grew colder, darker, more hostile. Creatures became more aggressive, illusions more vivid. Aaron's mind never wavered. He talked quietly to himself, small jokes, observations, and reminders of who he was. It kept him grounded. Humor, he realized, was a kind of armor, one that the Zillar could not anticipate or measure. Finally, as the first hints of dawn touched the jagged cliffs outside, Aaron reached the final chamber. The air was heavier here, charged with tension. Shadows twisted unnaturally, forming a figure that mirrored the High Warden herself. Kyra's eyes glowed in the shadow, her presence amplified and distorted. This was the ultimate test, a reflection of the judge. Combining every fear and illusion Aaron had encountered that night, he studied the shadow. Its movements were precise, calculated to strike at his weaknesses. But Aaron had learned patterns. He stepped lightly, dodged, and adapted. Each time the shadow lunged, he did not fight, did not resist with force. He observed, analyzed, and responded. The Zillar warriors above whispered among themselves. No human had ever reached this point, let alone remained unharmed and composed. They had expected screams, tears, or collapse. But Aaron stood firm, moving with confidence and clarity. The shadow tried to manipulate his emotions. Twisting memories into visions of doubt and fear, it whispered in his ears, mocking him, threatening him, tempting him to run or cry out. Aaron smiled faintly and shook his head. Not today, he muttered. He realized the shadow could only control him if he let it. His mind, steady and grounded, rejected its power. Every strike it made was met with a sidestep, a shift, or a clever maneuver. The final trial was not about defeating a physical opponent. It was about mastering one's own mind. Time lost meaning. The night seemed endless, but Aaron remained composed. He felt exhaustion, yes, but also a strange exhilaration. Every step, every decision had brought him here. Unlike the previous challengers, who had relied on brute force or panic-driven decisions, he had relied on his mind, his patience, and his humor. It was a combination no Zillar had seen before. From above, Kyra's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in fascination. This human was teaching her something about resilience, courage, and adaptability. His survival was impossible by their standards, yet he had done it. The arena, the creatures, the illusions all had tested him and failed to break him. The first part of the night ended with Aaron standing tall in the center of the final chamber. Facing the shadow of Kyra, he breathed evenly, smiled faintly, and whispered to himself, I'm still here, and I'm not afraid. For the first time in recorded history, a human had reached the final trial of the trial night hand. He did so without fear, without injury, and without despair. He had survived where others had perished. The Zillar observers were silent, their expectations shattered. High Warden Kyra descended from her vantage point, curiosity etched on her features. This human was unlike any other life form she had ever encountered. His methods were unorthodox, his mind sharp, and his spirit unyielding. Aaron did not yet know what awaited him beyond this point. But he understood one thing clearly: survival depended not on strength, not on aggression, but on understanding, observation, and resilience. He had proven it tonight. As the first light of dawn touched the edges of Valera Prime, Aaron prepared for the ultimate confrontation. The shadow of Kyra loomed before him, but he faced it without hesitation. He was ready not just to survive, but to show what humanity was capable of in a world that had never truly understood it. And somewhere deep inside, he allowed himself a small, private thought. Maybe tonight. He would not just survive maybe tonight, he would change everything. The shadow of Kyra moved closer, its presence heavy and commanding. It was more than a mere reflection. It was a culmination of every challenge Aaron had faced that night, amplified into a single, living embodiment of fear. Its eyes burned with an unnatural light, and its voice echoed in multiple tones at once. Whispering doubts and threats into his mind, Aaron stood his ground, breathing evenly. Every fiber of his being was alert yet calm. He had learned during the night that panic was the enemy, that fear was a weapon the Ziller wielded better than their blades. But he also knew their weapon had a flaw. It relied on the mind reacting instinctively rather than thoughtfully. Aaron's mind worked differently. He had studied patterns, observed weaknesses, and cultivated a humor that could diffuse tension even in the most dangerous moments. The shadow lunged. Its speed was terrifying, faster than any creature Aaron had faced before. Yet he did not retreat. He sidestepped with precision, barely touching the shifting floor as he moved. The arena seemed to respond to him, its light rippling with every careful motion. Aaron realized that the trial night was not meant to kill a challenger outright. It was designed to force the mind to bend under pressure, to break it entirely. Most challengers had failed because they allowed the chaos to control them. He would not. The shadow attacked again, this time striking with multiple limbs that materialized from darkness. Aaron ducked under one strike, rolled past another, and kept his focus steady. He whispered to himself, making small jokes about the absurdity of the situation, about how he had survived worse in simulations on Earth. The laughter was quiet, almost imperceptible, but it grounded him. Each time he laughed, the shadow hesitated. Confused by a human who refused to fear. High above, Kyra watched, her arms crossed. She had seen warriors who could tear through a dozen creatures without faltering. But none had ever faced the trial night with composure like this. She felt a strange sense of awe, mixed with disbelief. How could a human, a species she had always considered fragile and unpredictable, navigate the trial night with such skill? The shadow's attacks became more personal. It reached into Aaron's mind, attempting to pull memories of failure, loss, and regret. He saw visions of fallen comrades, ships destroyed, and missions gone wrong. The whispers grew louder, filled with doubt, urging him to collapse under the weight of his own mind. Aaron paused for a fraction of a second, acknowledging the memories. He did not resist them. He did not fight the visions. Instead, he observed them, like a scientist studying a phenomenon. He recognized their intent, to make him flinch, to make him break. But he was not alone. His training, his discipline, and his ability to control his emotions had brought him this far. The memories were real, but they could not define him. He moved forward, stepping carefully across the arena floor. The shadow mimicked him, striking with renewed fury. Aaron ducked under one blow and grabbed the edge of a glowing platform, swinging himself out of the shadow's path. Every move was deliberate, precise, and efficient. There was no panic in his body, only controlled energy and observation. The arena began to shift once more. The walls melted into a flowing pattern of light and shadow, creating an almost liquid environment. The creatures from earlier trials appeared again, but they were slower now, as if testing his reactions. Aaron studied them carefully. He realized that the creature's aggression was tied to his emotional state. By remaining calm, he could control their behavior. He sidestepped a leaping beast, letting it crash into the wall harmlessly. He used the environment to his advantage, turning the arena itself into an ally. Time passed in strange increments. Minutes felt like hours, hours like minutes. Aaron's body ached, and his muscles burned from constant movement. Hunger gnawed at him, and exhaustion threatened his focus. Yet his mind remained sharp. He reminded himself of the human ability to endure, to adapt, to find solutions where others saw only obstacles. Finally, he reached the center of the final chamber. The shadow of Kyra towered above him, combining every fear, illusion, and threat he had encountered during the night. Its presence was overwhelming, and yet Aaron felt a sense of calm. He realized that this was not just a test of survival. It was a test of understanding. The shadow was strong, but it could not comprehend a mind that refused to be broken. Aaron smiled faintly. It was a small, private smile, a gesture of confidence and defiance. The shadow hesitated, sensing a shift in the challenger. For the first time, it faltered. Aaron saw an opening and took it. He moved closer, not with aggression, but with careful calculation. The shadow lunged, and he sidestepped, letting it crash into the arena floor harmlessly. He spoke aloud, his voice steady. "I am not afraid of you. I am not afraid of this night. I am not afraid of what you represent." The words were simple, yet they carried a weight that resonated through the arena. The shadows flickered, the creatures froze, and the illusions began to dissolve. High Warden Kyra descended into the arena, her golden eyes fixed on him. She moved with the grace of a predator, her presence commanding silence from all the observers. "You survive?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "No human has ever. Not faltered. Not failed." Aaron straightened, brushing dust from his uniform. "I did not falter," he said simply. "I observed. I adapted. I endured. That is all any of us can do when faced with the unknown." Kyra studied him closely, circling him like a predator examining prey that had somehow escaped its trap. Her warriors were silent, their expressions a mix of awe and confusion. They had witnessed countless challengers, each more skilled than the last, yet none had survived the trial night with composure, wit, and intelligence. Aaron had done something no one else had managed. He had survived while remaining himself. The shadow of Kyra dissolved completely, leaving the arena empty, but for Aaron and the High Warden. Light from the dawn outside began to filter in, casting the jagged cliffs and glowing rivers in a soft, golden hue. Aaron allowed himself a deep breath, feeling the tension in his body finally ease. He had done it. He had survived. Kyra approached him directly, her expression still unreadable. "You are unlike any human I have ever encountered," she said quietly. "You rely not on strength or speed, but on your mind. You endure where others break. You face fear with humor and calm. It is extraordinary." Aaron nodded, giving a small, polite smile. "I've faced fear before," he admitted. "I've learned it can control you if you let it. But it doesn't have to. You can choose how you respond." Kyra's eyes glimmered with an emotion Aaron could not quite identify. Respect, perhaps, or fascination. She had spent her life training warriors to face impossible odds. Yet here was a human, a species she had always underestimated, who had not only faced the impossible, but had triumphed through intellect, patience, and resilience. "You will be the first human to survive the trial night," she announced to the gathered observers. Her voice carried through the arena, echoing off the walls. "Let it be known across Valera Prime that one among the humans has proven themselves worthy of our respect." The assembled Zelair murmured in astonishment. The notion of a human surviving was unprecedented. Many had assumed their intelligence and physical prowess made them too weak to endure the night's trials. Yet here was Aaron, standing tall, unharmed and smiling. Aaron took a moment to study the Ziller around him. Despite their reputation, he saw admiration in their eyes. He saw respect, curiosity, and a willingness to reconsider everything they had assumed about humans. The trial night had been designed to break challengers, but in doing so, it had revealed something remarkable: the unpredictable resilience of humanity. Kyra gestured for him to follow her. "You have passed, human," she said. "Not just survived, but excelled. Fuselaar could have done what you have done tonight. You will have a place among us, if you choose it." Aaron considered her words. He had come here unwillingly as a captive, yet his experience had revealed possibilities he had never imagined. The Zillar were not just warriors. They were a civilization of strategy, discipline, and intelligence. Aligning with them could open doors for humanity that no one on Earth could foresee. He nodded slowly. "I will consider it," he said. "For now, I want to learn. I want to understand this world and its people." Kyra's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile, a gesture almost imperceptible to anyone else. "Very well," she said. "Then you will begin not as a warrior, but as an observer. Learn what we know. Teach us what you know. Perhaps together we can achieve something neither of our species could accomplish alone." Aaron allowed himself a full smile this time, one that reached his eyes and carried the relief, pride, and excitement he felt. He had survived the trial night, changed the perception of an entire warrior race, and opened though as he walked through the arena with Kyra by his side, the sun rose over Valera Prime, casting its glow on jagged cliffs, glowing rivers, and the limitless horizon beyond. Aaron understood that survival was only the beginning. He had proven humanity's resilience and unpredictability, but the real adventure was just beginning. For the first time, he felt truly alive on this alien world, and he was not afraid. The trial night had tested him in ways he had never imagined, but he had emerged, not broken, not bruised, but smiling. That smile was more than an expression. It was proof that humanity could endure, add,